All right, before we get stuck into our chat with Ben and Rau, we're back for the Afters Hotline.
We are. Woo!
How are we, lads?
Good.
2 days out from game day.
At the time of
For
recording.
Switch, April. Ryan Resso, Wongo, good party.
Ryan Resso is someone we've been very excited about for a while now, and so it's good to have him in Coogee.
Yeah, sick label, Wild. Wild's been one of my favourite labels since, 2019, 20? I think that's when it started. Always been good quality music on there.
Peak time rollers.
Yeah, and some of the artists they've got on their agency and roster and stuff now, like your Steph Davids, I think, was it Furzer as well, he was saying?
Nah, what's Furzer on there?
Yeah, Furzer,
Chopper.
people like that, Chopper, all doing bits in that UK house sound that we all love. So big up Ryan, big up Wild, big up the team. Anyway, we've got a few questions today to get through. A few are from Anonymous, so I don't know. This one is from Raffers. Yeah, at Raffers.
Hi guys, can you please try and get an interview with Wheats?
Ooh.
We would like to, actually. Fun
Love
fact.
to. We should
Big fans of
post
Wheats.
this, give him a tag.
We
see if he's
should.
keen. I think he had plans to come out to Oz in April, May, was it? And then it's been pushed back a bit just
We
with
did.
the summer and stuff like that in the UK.
We tried to get him.
So if you see this, make sure you tag Wheats. Let
Yeah.
him know that we're keen to get him on when he's in Oz.
Yeah,
We love Wheats.
We
Love what
do.
He's doing Box Red.
Definitely one of the artists that we want to get on for Switch and the potty.
All right, this one's from Anonymous.
Hey guys, love listening to the beat. I would love to get your take on whatever the hell happened during Grimes' set at Coachella. Obviously, a whole lot of stuff went down. I have no idea what was happening. But yeah, I would love to hear your opinion on what went wrong and what she should have done to prevent that from happening.
That's
Yeah.
a fucking really good question.
I don't
So,
actually know what happened
From
there.
my understanding, with genres like drum and bass, I think trap as well, the tracks can either be read by Record Box in half time. So so if a drum and bass track will either be like 176 BPM or it would be half of that.
And you can
Record
mix-
Box, but you can mix it because
It's half.
the kicks are still hitting in sync. So if it's half the speed, it's going to be, so you've got one beat to going boom, 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 but the other one's going boom, boom. So it's still
right.
hitting in time. But to my knowledge, her USB shit itself at Coachella, and she couldn't basically do the maths quick enough in her head to be able to, because it wasn't processing it properly.
Right.
And then some people have been saying she wasn't syncing, she was using sync, or she shouldn't be using sync and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, what's your thoughts?
My take, without going in too much on her, because she's obviously copped it, and obviously she's a busy person, but I think if you're going to be playing up on that stage, because I think she blamed whoever sorted her record box. Like, if you're an artist playing on that stage, you should be sorting your own music. I don't think you should be leaving that to someone else. So, like, I think, yeah, any artist should be sorting their own music, no matter how big you are. You should know what you've got in your playlist and stuff. So, yeah, not a good look for her. She's obviously copped it.
No, it's not a good look, but at the end of the day, she's a very successful artist. She's made some great records over the years, been very successful, and obviously not her greatest moment, and obviously she'd be feeling pretty in a bit of a sticky place about it, but
Big learning curve.
yeah, a big learning curve, and I think it just, like, sometimes you just can't really help. Obviously, you need to come prepared and stuff, but shit like that, I don't know, like a lot of pressure standing up there, and if it's something you're not comfortable with and whatever, like, obviously each DJ has their own writer, has their own tech specs that they play with and they're used to, so I don't know if you kind of like feel like you're using different gear, or you're like, you got 20,000 people down there looking at you when you're trying to do the maths in your head.
Yeah,
under pressure.
Don't get me wrong, mistakes happen, but I also think if you are going to be up on that stage, you need to make sure your shit is sorted. Like, have it
Definitely, yeah,
carry
of
multiple
course.
USBs and whatnot.
Yeah,
It's a good question.
yeah. Thank you. And what do you reckon?
Yeah, I don't know. As I said, I've not seen any videos, or wasn't really too sure what happened. But if you are up on that stage, you're getting booked for gigs like that, I think you should be a lot more prepared. I don't think you should be getting someone else to be sorting your playlist and your record box, but at the same time, you've got to feel pretty bad for her.
Yeah,
The screaming did my head in, but There was a video I seen. I think it was a TikTok. It was like her screaming highlights. It was
Be
like
one of
6
them
different
things,
screams.
like, you know, when you're under pressure and you're trying to fix something,
Yeah.
and it's not. I was on the flyers at the bay yesterday. I was in the dark. I couldn't get the tape roll.
Oh yeah.
And I was stuck in front of these people here, and I'm like, fucking. Even that was enough pressure. All right, got a question now from Stephen Fellard.
Yes, lads. My name's Stevie. I love what you're doing. I've got a question here. If you could pick one tune to close out your dream sets, wherever that would be, what would it be and why?
This was almost going to be the question we were going to ask.
Nah, it's different though. First of all, big up Steve, and I want to know if he's red or blue.
Hopefully red. Hopefully red, or we'll have to cut this out.
I'll have to message him.
It's been a rough morning. Liverpool lost Everton.
True Merseyside derby. I fucking didn't even realise that. Good question.
I was actually thinking of this the other day, and I had a song in my head, but I can't remember what it was now. So it couldn't have been that good of a song.
Oh,
Well,
Can we have a minute to... Fuck, this is a great question.
I'm a bit biased towards Music Sounds Better With You, but that's just because that song has a very special place in my heart, that song. But
Fuck, this is so hard. The Weekend by Michael Gray would be hectic.
there's like, it depends, because like I'm thinking, like, if you think of like
emotional, do you want to go that?
yeah, like Toka's Miracle would be sick as well, like
those old school trends.
something like that.
Children, like Robert Miles.
how's that go?
Oh, hold on, I'll play it.
It depends on it's complete. Well, first of all, you got to put yourself in the shoes of what gig it is. Like, say if you're playing at like pitch 7 a.m, closing that, like you could do a mad even something like Calvin Harris, You're Not Alone, like
Heaven,
playing
DJ
that.
Sammy.
Which one?
Heaven.
Yeah,
That's that.
Better Off Alone, like one of those ones.
Yeah.
Something that just gets the that just finish an absolute. What does Salter finish with at pitch?
Oh,
Is that fucking
the Caesars.
and
yeah.
you jerk it out.
Yeah, jerk it out. Fuck, that's a tune. I don't know. Remember when we were in our fucking Camel Fat era?
Yeah.
Breathe,
Breathe.
Dark Matter
Yeah.
edit.
But I don't think I think now I'm probably moved past that. But that
Probably
was
not now.
Yeah, probably not now. But
I'm gonna say, is it Mojo?
Hear Me Tonight.
Lady. Hear Me Tonight. I'm gonna go that. But there's so many possibilities.
I'm gonna stick with Music Sounds Better With You.
I might go Show Me Love.
Or
Robin S.
yeah, it's Robin S. Actually, I'm gonna go Toka's Miracle.
Fuck, that's a good one as well.
I just feel like
I'm going to go Show Me Love. There's too many to fucking...
yeah. Because have you seen that video of I think it was Solid Grooves, Baby and Pausa playing Show Me Love at Printworks?
Yeah, I'm going to go...
And they like tease it and then they bring it in the drops and everyone just goes nuts.
Yeah, I'll go Show Me Love. Bailey, what is your track you're going with?
I'm gonna go Toka's Miracle.
How come?
Is that the original or is it the edit, the one I'm thinking of?
By Fragma.
Yeah.
That's
This
a tune. I think
I think that's the original.
either way, that's your one.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's got like a nice blend of like it's got the big vocal hook. It's got like the nice strings and the nice. It's like euphoric, but it's also like groovy and
Bit of energy to
yeah,
it
a bit
as
of
well.
energy. Nice moment. Like if I'm thinking closing a festival, you know, everyone hugging their mates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
End of it.
Everyone off their bean.
Yeah.
I will go Show Me Love, Robin S. I feel like that's a track. I feel like as a kid, it's a track you hear like growing up. And yeah, I just love the sound of it. And I think that would connect really well with the dance floor.
That shout at the start when it first comes in.
Yeah.
That like on a dance floor, just like immediately the energy just up.
Yeah, and then what was it? What was the topic event we had at Manning Bar? I think I closed with that, and it was mad. Yeah, there's so many to choose from, and it sort of depends on if you want to go for like that emotional sort of track and energetic track.
Yeah.
But I feel like Show Me Love, just everyone knows and loves that track.
Yeah, and then mine's probably Lady, Hear Me Tonight.
Tune.
I think just hearing it coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah, euphoric. But anything from any given Armand Van Helden set, I reckon is probably a good shout as well.
Yeah.
I feel like most of the tracks that I would choose, like there's obviously quite a few. I feel like most of them are coming from like the early, from like the 90s, early 2000s. It'd definitely be something from that sort of time period.
It wouldn't be I don't think it'd like be my dream track to close with, but that Music for You, motherfucker, that one's always good vibes as well. It's got like the nice melody, and it's got the because at Switch that was I played that because I was like, I just finished on like a little classic. I didn't expect everyone to I didn't expect anyone to even really know it either. Because it's all like obviously it's quite older track.
What's that one, For the Love of House?
Yeah. Fuck, that's a tune as well.
Did Ewan play that
at pitch?
Did he close with that?
Yeah, I think so. He's up there at the Scottish flag. Yeah,
that's a fucking track.
That would be up there as well.
Strict.
Yeah, that was a fucking really good question.
Or what did Yob Yobsy close with? Bicep glue, but
the In the Day.
Yeah, the Nelly.
Say it right. Yeah.
Fuck, there's too many.
Yeah.
Good question.
Fucking very good.
Yeah,
question.
I think anything that like you said, Armand Van Helden would play or Yob Yobsy would play. I think any of those kind of tunes, the old school house trance,
that just connect with everyone.
Yeah,
there's a lot of those old school trancey tracks that I love, like a Beach Ball or something as well. Children, Robert Miles, like any of those sort of tracks. I feel like. But look, we'll go with Show Me Love just to put it down on one. We'll go Show Me Love.
I want you to go away and think for next time, and we're going to answer what the greatest dance music track is of all time.
We're
going to come back on next time.
We'll
come up with a criteria, and we'll read it out next time, whatever we'll put together. But I want to get to the bottom of it.
Greatest dance track of all time.
Yep.
Okay. Specifically in the house and techno sort of realm?
Dance music.
Music. All right.
Yeah, house trance.
I mean, none of us are going to choose an EDM one, but if it was an EDM, then include that. It's a dance music track.
Cool. So that's a fucking big question.
Yeah. Well, let's not say too much. All
right,
we're getting stuck in the episode now. It's Ben Rau. I hope you guys enjoyed the chat. We had a really good time filming it. Ben's absolute legend. All right, let's get stuck in. Welcome back for another episode of The Beat. Today, we're lucky enough to be joined by one of the finest producers, artists in the scene, Ben Rau. How's it going, mate?
I'm very, very well. Always happy to be in Australia, and I love it here. And thanks for having me, guys.
Pleasure.
Get your coastal walk on today?
Got my coastal walk on with my buddy James, who's just sitting out of shot here.
Shout out James.
And
Big up, James.
one of my besties from back in the days from uni. It's always just really nice coming to Sydney because I have friends here, and you live in such a beautiful city. Such nice scenery. I love doing the coastal walks, and it's just a real treat always to play here and to be here for a couple of days.
Yeah, you finished off yesterday was the final show of the tour.
Final show of the Asia-Australia tour, and then it's back to Europe. Then it's 1 weekend off, and then like the whole thing starts
just
again.
non-stop. You're going into the silly season of Europe and stuff now as well.
Yeah. It's always busy in the summer. Yeah.
So how have you found the tour to be?
I find it really good. It was a mixture of bigger shows and smaller shows. The new places that I've never been to before. I went to China for the first time, to Shanghai, which was something that I was really looking forward to. I've always wanted to see China. I'm fascinated by that country and the technological progress they're making. And it was like you fast-forwarding 10 years into the future.
Oh, yeah.
It was very, very interesting. The Chinese people really surprised me, how welcoming they are, how friendly they are. I feel right now we're at a strange time in the world where there is a narrative being pushed that the Chinese are our enemy. And I think it's very important for people to not forget that people aren't their government.
Exactly.
I have friends, in places where you might not agree with, but that doesn't mean the people are bad people. And it's just great to be reminded of that and to see, you might not agree with everything, somebody does or have different views and different things. But I found the people to be exceptionally welcoming. Like, it was just the hospitality was just off the chart. Like, literally, like after the show at 6 a.m. in the morning, we went to a restaurant. I was like,
at 6 in the morning.
Yeah, like
a cafe.
We've been me and James wanted to get a bite to eat here on the way here. We were struggling to find anything that's open at like 5 p.m. And I was like, why are you guys all closing? They're
McDonald's.
like, it's 5 p.m. It's closing time. And I was like, I've just been to China. And in China, they were open at 6 a.m. in the morning, full-on restaurant service, right? I mean, like, I can send you guys some footage that you could maybe like put into the podcast. There was a guy, like, have you ever seen hand-drawn noodles? Like where they like draw noodles out with their hands and they draw them like this, and he was like swinging them around, like it looked like a dude at a Psytrance festival. Like, swinging the noodles around and then cutting them up, putting them in the hot pot in the middle. Amazing food. Like, they told the restaurant it was my birthday. It wasn't.
Classic.
It wasn't. Like, all the waiters came out and sang. It was just a really, really fun experience. So that was Shanghai. Korea was awesome too. Tiny little club, but dedicated ravers. Like, they're just really developing their scene there. That's what I find across Asia is like, Asia doesn't have a developed electronic music scene just yet. I think that has to do with draconian laws around musical entertainment and recreational drug use. Yeah. You know, I mean, we all know that, you know, that goes hand in hand with electronic music. Mm-hmm. And when people feel that, you know, you might end up in prison for the rest of your life because you want to go out and party, it might not be worth, you know, taking that risk. Having said that, I feel things are changing now, especially in Thailand. Thailand is really started to relax everything. I mean, as you know, they just legalized weed. First country in Asia to legalize weed. And
big up Thailand.
Yeah, big up Thailand for being progressive and, you know, to leading the charge to just easing up on these things, because these people who want to enjoy a smoke aren't criminals, you know, they just want to have a smoke. I don't personally smoke myself, but like, you know, I'm all for legalizing it and just giving people a break. And then also the government has now gotten behind it, so they are bringing over Tomorrowland now, which, as we all know, is one of the biggest electronic music festivals in the world for 10 years to Thailand. And I think that's going to be great for the entire region, including Australia, because, you know, that can be a destination for people to go to and really experience electronic music on a big level with really high production value.
Yeah, without having to travel 24 hours to get to Europe.
A few of the, like, I think Circo Loco did a weekender there. Yeah, like 2 weekenders.
New Year's,
sick. They do that every year. Yeah.
So I think I've seen Elro doing Bali in a few weeks, so it's good to see a few of the bigger brands coming there more regularly.
Cafe Del Mar is shaping up like one of the premier spots as well. I mean, they're bringing some of the biggest headliners in the world. They had Marco Carola, they had Fisher. They had Boris Brecher there recently, and they've got like across the board, not just like, you know, the really big, more commercial names, but really more underground names as well, including myself. So like Phuket is really becoming a destination for electronic music, and I think that's great for the region because Asia needed that.
Phuket's wild. Yeah. It's chaos there.
Yeah. It feels like Bali's sort of ahead of the curve with Asia. I feel like you see quite a few big international names in Bali, like at Sevilla and the other big venues, but it sounds like the rest of Asia's got a bit of catching up to do, but it's good to see that things in place.
That is true. I think Bali has been sort of, as you said, was like a leader and like has been a destination for a while for like bigger acts, but I actually think because Thailand is a lot more relaxed now, in terms of the authorities, Thailand has the better parties. Yeah. People just feel just a lot more relaxed, and it's like you can. I mean, Circo Loco is like really like Circo Loco, you know. It's like it's not like a sanitized version of it. It's like the Ibiza version, and they're doing a great job there. And Cafe Del Mar's doing a great job there. Shout out to Colour as well, and my friend Corin Maloney, who's a fellow Australian, and he has been promoting out there for a long time, and he's been bringing me over for years. He's doing a great party there called Colour Party and Festival, and he's also been really instrumental in developing the scene there.
Awesome. So you are born in Berlin, and then moved over to England later in, was it your teens you moved over there?
No, that was later in my 20s. That was for university, literally, like after I finished high school. I was in Berlin for a while. After that, then I had to do national service in Germany. At the time, you still had national service, so I had to join the army. So I was in the army for like 18 months. I didn't quite finish. That's another story in itself.
The off-camera version.
I'm happy to talk about it. They kicked me out. I wanted to get kicked out. That was like mission accomplished, basically. You know, I was just like, what can I do to be completely useless to them?
What did you do? What didn't you do?
I just read my rights. Like, what are my rights as like somebody who's doing national service, and I played the system to basically miss as many days as possible, pulling sickies and whatnot, and then like eventually there was just like. They got me. Well, the goal was to get an appointment to get evaluated by the psychologist, basically, whether I'm capable of doing national service. And he just said to me, he's like, Mr. Rau, he goes like, I know things aren't going well. It's like, could you imagine us giving you like a very easy office job? You don't even have to stay on base. You can live at home, and then you can just come in for the day, do a couple of hours of admin work, and then go back home, and you'll do that for the rest of the service. And I don't think I can. And then he just gave me a stamp anyway, which was like discharged. And I just walked out. It was like, yes.
Pays to be lazy sometimes.
Yes. Well, you know what, right? Like, and there's a difference, right? You know, I'm not a lazy person, but I am not down for wasting my time for things I don't believe in. And one thing I don't believe in is, doing national service. Like, armies should be professional armies, people that are inclined that way to join the police service, to join the army. I have all the respect in the world for them, if that's what you want to do, right? Yeah. Don't make every male at, like, 18 years old spend 2 years of their life doing that.
Yeah.
I have better shit to do, which was making music. So,
and look at you now.
Yeah.
So growing up in Berlin, obviously the culture there is one of the best in the world for music. Were you always in and around dance music, or did that come later once you moved to the UK and go out to uni? I'm assuming you started going to parties around that time properly.
It came like sort of in phases. Definitely, like, I was always around that. My brother was always a music head and always into music. Like, I remember my brother buying like Inner City, like some of the first house and techno tracks like on vinyl, like literally like in the 80s, and listening to that, when I was young. And I started listening to house and techno way before I was at the age to even go to a club. My brother would bring tapes home. Back then, it sounds ancient now, but it was audio cassettes back then in those days. I know CDs sound like an ancient technology now, but like literally it was audio cassettes, and my bro would bring them back home, and I would listen to them. And by the time I was old enough to sort of join them at the clubs, I did. And I've remember vividly the first time I went to like a techno club night in a club called Unit in Hamburg City, which was the closest larger town to where I grew up. And it was a life-changing experience. And I decided from that day on, I want to do this every weekend.
How old were you?
I was 17. Yeah, and then I did. Do that every weekend for many, many years. I had I was always a hip hop head as well. And then for a while, I got really back into my hip hop and stopped going raving. Was part of the hip hop scene and part of the graffiti scene and did that. The 90s were like a really sort of amazing time for hip hop as well. But then when I got back to uni, which was in the early 2000s, which was in Bournemouth and south of England, we had a house night there called Maison, House in French. And Maison was like a really good house night where you actually had some international talent playing as well. You had people like Derek Carter playing, and English tech house DJs like Darren Emerson at the time, who were big at the time and had Ibiza residencies. So it was a really cool spot to go to uni because we would religiously go to that house night, and that's what reignited the kind of enthusiasm and the fire for me to get back into electronic music. And that's where I also started DJing and decided to become a professional DJ.
So before we had some technical difficulties, I was asking how you sort of navigated your way through the scene to where you are now. Like, where did it start and how did you get to where you are now?
So when I was at uni, my friend had a set of decks open over at his house, and I would just practice on there all of the time. And I remember just really vividly that very early on, I was like, I want to get good at this. And everybody went on holiday. I think it was like spring break or something like that at uni. And everybody went back home, see their parents. And I was like, I'm going to stay behind and just practice. And I asked him, can I have the keys to your flat and just use the decks? And he was like, yeah, you can.
Good mate.
And I was just in there, yeah, good mate. And I was just in there all of the time, just on the decks, practicing. And then just got really addicted to just, buying music. Spent all my money just on records, on vinyl. And then very early on decided I want to do this professionally. And I remember talking to my flatmate back then, and his name was Taran, and we both studied computer animation. I did a bachelor in computer animation and digital special effects. And I was like, Taran, I think I want to be a professional DJ. And he said to me, if anybody can do it, you can. And I just took that in. It was like, okay, I'm going to do that. And then I've just followed that goal ever since. I had really no concept of how, there's so much more out there in terms of resources, because this was pre-YouTube, everything. This was early 2000s. And I had no concept of how to make it as a DJ and how you even do it. And there was a book which was a guide to the music industry that was recommended. And at the time, people got their breakthroughs by entering DJ competitions. So there were two major DJ competitions. One was called iDJ Raw Talent, and the other one was called Bedroom Bedlam. And Bedroom Bedlam was a famous one that was won by guys like Yusef, who went on to
Circus.
Yeah, who do really big brands like Circus. Yusef was a really big international headliner for a long time before he became the promoter of Circus, and Circus he's done for decades now. But he was one of the big names back at the time. And then James Abelia was also a winner of that competition. So I decided I'm going to enter iDJ Raw Talent. And I made a tape, not a tape, it was a CD. So I burned a CD, you had to send that in, and I won it, first time off. And Nick Fanciulli was one of the judges. A bunch of other people who aren't really around anymore were also judges. And after I won that was in 2005, I was like, okay, I am, good at this. I think I have something that could be unique. I have my own voice and my own style. One of the comments of Nick Fanciulli was, it was really frustrating that I didn't know any of the tunes that he had in his mix. So I was like, okay, I know I'm onto something here.
Yeah.
Back then it was German minimal. German minimal was really just coming up then, so spearheaded by people like Ricardo Villalobos. Richie Horton lived in Berlin at the time, and the Minus label was really influential. And it was that kind of sound. Nobody in London was really playing that. And one of those mixes, one of those actual CDs from that competition, because I had loads of them made and handed them out with my phone number on them, ended up in Enzo Siracusa's hands. And Enzo actually gave me a call off the back of that. Wow. And he said, I'm a DJ, I'm building something, and I'd love to meet you. And we met at Circo Loco, London. Circo Loco was at that time promoted by another guy, by another English promoter who basically promoted the brand in London. Me and Enzo met at a nightclub called The End, which was owned by Mr. C and a bunch of other people. It was a legendary nightclub in London. And he just said like, hey, look, I'm doing this party at this sort of pub in Clapham Common, and the place is called Inigo. Do you want to come and play and play a set? And I said yes. I played a set, and he said like, you're going to be my new resident, and that was it. And I got to give it to Enzo. You know, like Enzo's been a friend and supporter for decades now, and Enzo's always been a leader, and he's always had a vision. And he said to me, Benjamin, we are going to be big international DJs. And I was like, this is exactly what I've always been thinking as well. You know, I've had that belief as well, and like I'd never met anybody who had that same belief as me, but he had that belief as well. And it was like back in those days, like you got to realize Enzo's party was in a pub, like on Clapham Common, which is like an area of London. And you could maybe fit like 100 people in that place. It was known as a party destination. Like they played electronic music there, so it had an audience. But it's very small beginnings, and we were out flyering on Clapham Common, just like literally just trying to get people to come to our party. And very small and very humble beginnings. And then came another party that Enzo did called Circuit, and Circuit needed an after party, and the after party to Circuit was called Fuse.
Hey.
Yeah, because Circuit fuse, you know, like electricity, right? So, yeah, so Fuse was initially an after party that was on Sunday afternoons, and yeah, that just really started taking off. Loads of people started showing up. And at some point, Enzo just goes like, why are we still doing Circuit? Like, Fuse is just like the main thing now. And that was
Put your
it.
eggs into one basket kind of thing.
And, you know, he was very adamant from the beginning that he expects everybody to produce music and to be on their game. And out of that stable, we have Archie Hamilton, we have Seb Zito, we have myself, we had Roscoe, we have Enzo Siracusa. So it was a group of individuals where like probably half of the residents that played there went on to have international careers.
Wow, each other up. That's sick.
Yeah, that's pretty.
And that shows how powerful it can be when you're surrounded by like-minded people that have a vision and a drive and a willingness to see something through.
Yeah, wow, that's crazy to see.
Was Fuse at that point? Was that sort of like a regular? Like a residency as such for you, or was it more sporadic events?
It was a regular residency. I wasn't playing as much as some of the other residents. I think Seb Zito and Archie definitely played the most. But Enzo would put me on a regular basis, not every week, but like maybe once or twice a month. It was a regular residency. It definitely helped me sort of get my first foothold in the industry. But things really started taking off when I kind of decided to sort of, you know, follow my own destiny, start my own label, and like once I started Inkal, that's when things started taking off, basically.
What was the vision for that when you first began? Where do you want it to get to?
So it was a difficult time in my life because my parents, like my dad had already passed away in 2009. My mum had become sick. My brother was just like, I need help. Mum's not well. So I moved back home to Berlin in 2012. And then once I was in Berlin, I was kind of cut off from my ecosystem. I played a lot in London. Like on a London level, I was busy every weekend, like with 2-3 gigs every weekend. I would finish at Fuse and have to go to another place and then to another place. I'd have my own party as well. Like I had my own afters. So, like, I was very established on the London circuit, and when I came to Berlin, I was faced with nothing. And I had a whole year where I had, like, no gigs at all. And trying to get established in Berlin was just impossible without, like, really taking the music and the production seriously. And I think I got my first studio there in 2012. I'm trying to get the timeline right, but it must have been 2012. Excuse me, just got a burp from this beer.
Yeah, okay.
Got to get that gas.
Put that in
So,
the blooper reel.
trying to get the timeline right. I think I got my first studio in Berlin in 2012, and I got some coaching because I really had trouble finishing tracks.
Sounds like me.
Yeah, like I was just like forever just tinkering on the same track, and I was just like, oh my god, like I need help. And I kept looking online, and I found Mike Monday. Have you ever heard of Mike Monday?
Can't say I have, no.
So Mike Monday is a music tutor. He used to be a touring DJ producer himself in the late 90s, early 2000s. I had a couple of his records back then, Tech House Records. Excuse me. Good to
Interrupting,
go.
man.
No worries. So I found out about Mike Monday. He's a music tutor. And he had an online program called Start Now, Finish Fast. And then he had another one called Make Music Your Life. And I did Start Now, Finish Fast, and I did 2 tracks in 2 weeks. That's the fastest I ever done, like a track. And I was like, okay, there's something here. And he offered private tutoring as well, which was very expensive. It was like $2,000 a month, something like that. Yeah. And I was just like...
Especially back then, like 2012 as well.
And he had clients like Claude von Stroke and like some really big names. And I was just like, I'm going to just get like the private tutoring for like, I think, I can't remember if it was $2,000 for a month or $2,000 for 4 sessions over 2 months. Something like that. I think it was 4 or 6 sessions. But like, anyway, I paid for it. And I did it. And I don't regret doing it because I told him that, like, look, I'm finishing tracks now. Your program worked, but I'm sending them out to people and I'm not getting any responses. And he goes, like, if nobody's picking you, Benjamin, you have to pick yourself.
It's good advice, actually.
Yeah. And he goes, like, you have to start your own label. Like, if you have belief in your music, then you have to start your own label. So... that's when I started Inkal as a vinyl-only label. And the first 6 releases of Inkal all went to #1 in the vinyl chart.
Shit.
6 consecutive #1s.
Very impressive.
And the only other person I've seen do that in vinyl was like Eastenderz. It was like for a while it was always me or Eastenderz being #1 at DJ.de. No, not Nemesis at all.
Healthy competition.
Not Nemesis at all, because Chase, Eastenderz, actually helped me set up my label, and he got me with my distributor, which
That's
the same
awesome.
distributor is. And that's when we were talking about win-win earlier and
Exactly,
helping
I was
each
about to
other
say
out.
that.
He was actually really instrumental in helping me set up the label.
It's really
So, like, and he was just like, I'm so happy for you, the label's pumping, you know?
Sick.
Like, you're doing great numbers. So, like, this is we talked about this earlier in the car about an abundance mindset. I think this is so important to have in this industry. The pie is big enough for everybody.
Yeah.
You don't need to hog shit. You don't need to hog resources.
Everyone can win.
Yeah, if you help people out, it's going to come back to you. You're just going to enlarge the scene, which is good for everybody.
100%.
Wow. And then, so you've also got META as well.
Yeah, I got META as well.
Yeah. So Inkal is just for you. META is for...
Inka is, until this day, is only a self-release platform, and I haven't released on Inkal for about 2 years now. META kind of just took over.
Cool.
META was originally just meant to be releasing music for other artists.
Yep.
And then, like, very quickly became, like, the main label because, you know, much higher frequency of releases, you know, variety of different artists on there, and, like, yeah, at the moment, I went on monthly for like a year and a half, but I found it very hard to keep that up and keep up the quality of the releases. So now I'm just not putting myself under too much pressure of having to release every month. Just whenever I sign something that I feel is great, I'll release it then.
Yeah. And what's the sort of style you're going for, the vision with the label?
I mean, the vision is like, I can just say just quality underground house music. To me, like, all these labels that people have like given the music don't really seem to fit for me. Like, people call what we do minimal. To me,
everything gets put into that category.
it doesn't seem minimal. It's not minimal. It's like, if you listen to like a lot of the new Dutch artists that are coming out, the music is very melodically sophisticated. There's lots of stuff going on. It works on big stages. It's not after party Romanian minimal sound. Like, why it gets put in that category of minimal house, I don't know. I guess because you have like really big room tech house, and compared to that, it seems minimal. But to me, it's not even minimal, because minimal is something for me where you have like 2 or 3 elements, you know, or 4 elements, and you have something very stripped back. And there is tons of music like that, you know, especially from the Romanian type of sound and the early German minimal sound. But what we do, to me, fits much more in the deep house category. Deep house and tech house, right? And tech house, not in the sense of big room American tech house. Beatport tech house, but like tech house when it started in the UK in the late 90s, in the early 2000s. There's like a couple of labels that came out of London that really defined what we're doing. And you listen to those records back then, and you're like, oh shit, like this is exactly what we're doing right now. It's dubby, it's bassline driven. You know, it's very like the current wave of house music coming out of the UK is all like 90s. Like it's literally the 90s sound with better production techniques, but it's all been done before, and there's nothing wrong with it being done before. I think it's amazing that the kids are rediscovering a sound that was done before they were even born, you know? Because they're in their early 20s, and that music is from like 95, you know, like to like late 90s, early 2000s, and all these kind of sounds and these production techniques were already around back then, and now we're kind of expanding on those and creating like a new wave of that sound. Everything comes around in cycles eventually. Definitely. Again. Yeah.
Who are some of your favorite up and coming acts then? Obviously just touched on the kids that are pumping the new tune.
I've got to rep my bro Max Dean. Like Max, like I like everything Max sends. I play lots.
I say the one you played last night.
Yeah. Like he did that edit with Reckless with Your Love from Azari, and I forgot the name now, but like Reckless with Your Love. That's I think coming out as an official remix now.
Wow.
Because
that's a huge tune.
It just took off. You know, like all the big names started playing it. He's given it to a couple of names, and Max has always been generous with his music. He always sends music, and just deservedly so. Like he's really got his moment right now, and like I've seen him grow over the last 3 years when we first met in Ibiza, and just really proud of what he's achieving, and he's blowing up. His cousin Luke as well. You've had him here on the podcast.
Friend.
Yeah. Just recently, like Luke's also blowing up. They're great. Gaskin is another one.
Yep.
Like Gaskin is playing amazing music. Marcelo from the Netherlands is making incredible music, very sophisticated sound. I mean, there's lots. There's really lots. Like there's a whole bunch of producers coming from the Netherlands that are all sick. The Netherlands is really curating. The promoters are really curating a whole wave of new talent.
It's a hub.
Yeah. And there's a reason for that, which sadly doesn't exist anywhere else. Like when you're a Dutch DJ, like even if you just made like one EP and you like really, you know, make good music and you play good music, you'll play like a bunch of festivals every summer from early on. Before you have an international career, you'll already be on festival stages. That's in the awesome. Netherlands, because local promoters promote local talent, and they pair local talent together with international talent. And we don't have that anywhere else in Europe. Maybe a little bit in the UK. Germany's the worst. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, we have Fabe, myself, Sydney Charles, Coulter, and we never play in Germany.
Really?
It's crazy.
That's so surprising.
Never.
Like, huge artists.
Like never. Literally never. Like maybe once or twice a year, you know, where every Dutch artist has like 15 dates every summer at home, 20 dates every summer at home. Like we have zero.
Why is literally.
That? I don't know why that is. I think it's culture. it speaks towards like how great the Dutch are at like developing music culture and supporting a musical ecosystem. It's just atrocious. Like I can't say any positives about the German promoters in that way. Nothing.
That's
Literally
surprising,
nothing.
to be honest.
Would you say that's
Actually, you know what? I want to make one exception for Tanzhaus West in Frankfurt because
Shout out to that person.
yeah, they've been putting me on, they've been putting Coulter on, they've put Stassi on, they've put another a bunch of German house artists on as well. So Tanzhaus West, shout out to them. All the other ones, sort your game out, because it's actually embarrassing that you're not supporting your homegrown talent.
Your own.
You don't support your own.
Would you say that's to do with the sort of the trends of music these days? Like, particularly over here, everything's harder and faster. Do you think it's to do with that?
Absolutely. Like, Germany's techno country.
Yeah.
And it always has been. Having said that, in the minimal times, there was much more a variety of sound, but it really went down techno way and like sort of harder techno sort of sound, like techno, as they call it, business techno, and like really, really big, everywhere. And that became like a very dominant sound in Europe. And Germany has always been, like at the forefront of that, the sort of harder sounds. And also because I think it has to do because one of the biggest German nights that we had in Ibiza was Cocoon, and Sven Vath was really like a champion of house and techno of all kinds of different styles. Marco Carola was a resident at Cocoon. Ricardo Villalobos was a resident at Cocoon. Luciano was a resident at Cocoon. Many amazing house artists across the board and techno artists also, became big as being residents at Cocoon. But Sven has been in the game for a long time. He's decided he doesn't want to do his Ibiza residency anymore. I don't know how many seasons he's done, like almost 20, 17, I don't know. Like he's done it for a long time. And once that stopped, that kind of stopped the German talent breaking through and the German talent given a platform and a stage, because we had a big house scene in Germany as well in the Frankfurt area. They called it the Rhine-Main Frankfurt sound. Nick Curley came out of that scene. Johnny D. Like, I don't know if you remember any of these guys, but like we had a real German house scene like about 10 years ago, and like all of that's kind of gone since Sven Vath has stopped.
It's a shame. So
showcasing that talent, yeah.
So Sven was a real pioneer for talent coming through Germany, particularly on the house side of things.
Sorry, come again with that.
So Sven was like a real pioneer for producing German talent.
He really was. Sven Vath is an absolute legend. He's done so much for electronic music in Germany, and he was like really the only German DJ that had a big brand in Ibiza for like all of those years, and to survive that many seasons, like Ibiza is absolutely ruthless.
Yeah.
So like if you don't sell enough tickets, you're gone the next season.
Cutthroat.
Many have tried and failed. Like in for 1 year, out the next year. And to be going like 16 seasons, like you must be doing something right.
Yeah.
What were the first big parties you sort of started playing at? Besides, obviously, you were with Fuses was coming up. But what was the moment when you started touring a bit more and playing some festivals that you kind of thought, oh shit, like I've kind of cracking it here?
That was like after I had those run of number ones with Inkal, that I could really feel that like, okay, like I'm starting to get some international interest now. I'm starting getting requests from Australia. I was starting getting requests from South America. I was still with like a semi-professional agent at the time. And then like my friend Emmanuel Satie, who's kind of more in the melodic house sphere, but he was a studio partner of mine. He was in the studio next to me. And he had already kind of broken through, and he had management, and then he got me signed up to his management, and they found me like a decent agency. That agency was Arcade Talent, and Kerry Chandler's on that agency, and Masters at Work were on that agency, like some real house legends. So like I started playing a bunch of shows with Kerry, and started playing like iconic venues like Rex Club in Paris. Got bookings for like Amnesia in Ibiza, And that's when things started kind of taking off. And yeah, then Glastonbury came. That was through management as well. Just like, you know, management having conversations on your behalf and you know, speaking to decision makers and saying like, hey, like this guy's hot, like you should put him on a lineup. Yeah, it takes a team of people to make a career in this business.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And what was it like getting those big gigs like Glastonbury, and as you slowly got bigger and bigger? Was it like pinch me moments, or was it all just...
Yeah, and I still get pinch me moments like now. Like I had Space Miami like last year. That was a big bucket list gig. I had DC-10 like the year previously. That was for Solid Grooves. That was like one of the pinnacles, you know. And they put me on at a really good time on the terrace, which was super gracious and very just I've been on that dance floor countless times, and to play there was amazing. So like, yeah, there's always more to achieve, always more to do. Like the biggest pinch me moment was actually the Essential Mix a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
Really?
On BBC Radio 1. Yeah.
Is that just because of the reach it has, or why was that such a pivotal moment?
Because of the people who've done it.
Yeah.
Daft Punk has done it. Masters at Work have done it. Kerry Chandler, just too many to mention. All of the greats have done the Essential Mix. To be asked to do the Essential Mix is, although like radio as a medium is not as important as it used to be back in those days, but I used to religiously listen to the Essential Mix. And to be able to do that and have Pete Tong introduce me and hear his voice, you know, doing that intro, I actually cried when I heard that. Like it was a very emotional moment to hear him say my name.
Shout out Pete Tong.
Yeah, like Pete the legend, and he's been in the game forever, you know, and has championed so much music. And I've listened to the Essential Selection and the Essential Mix for decades, and to get that was probably one of the biggest pinch me moments I've had. Yeah.
Awesome. And so you've got an exciting new business venture coming up. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I can tell you a little bit about it. So I am starting a platform, an educational platform, together with William from Odin and Fatso. William, a.k.a. Fatso. And we're going to teach you everything we know. Not just music production, so everything we know about this business. How to run a record label, how to develop the right mindset to work self-motivated, how to market yourself on social media, how to deal with the legal side of things when you're signing music to big labels and contracts, how to find management, how to find an agency. It's going to be a one-stop shop to learn everything that you need to learn if you want a career in electronic music. And we're going to teach you everything that we know. And over the years, we've pretty much met everybody. Like I can proudly say now, without sounding too cocky, that I know most of the movers and shakers in the business, and I have access to them, and I can call them up, and they will reply to me. And you know, we are going to use all our expertise and everything that we know and leverage everything that we do to help you achieve your dream. Because I remember what it was like for me when I had that dream, like to make it in the space. And it was like this passion that I had for the culture and for the music. And I just didn't have any resources to find out how I could get to that place where I really, you know, make this career a reality. And if I had been given access to a place where you have all of that under one roof, that would have been invaluable to me, because I made many mistakes along the way, and things took a lot longer than they could have taken if I had somebody that could have guided me in that process. And that's what we want to do. That's what we want to do, to give back to the culture, keep the culture alive, and to make sure that the next generation of artists can go on to have successful careers themselves.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, is that something you always thought about doing, is teaching people afterwards, or was it only sort of recent that it's come about where you thought, I'm at a stage of my career I want to give back and help
Absolutely.
people out?
Yeah, I'm at a stage in my career now where I want to give back. Like if my career ended, DJing is just one of the many things that I do. I'm an avid investor. If my DJing career would end within the next couple of years, I would be fine financially. And the business is about giving back, but also about generating more income to pursue the other things that I'm really interested in, which is stock investing. It's my passion. I spend many hours a day researching stocks and companies.
Wish I had that passion.
Yeah,
some money.
It's fascinating because it's all about learning. You have to have a voracious appetite for taking in information, all kinds of information. I've just spent the last 3 months learning how artificial intelligence works, from the ground up. Not just I type something into ChatGPT and it gives me an answer. It's how does that actually work? What is a neural network? I could get really nerdy on this right now, but I won't.
So you're quite an academic person.
I just love to learn. I love to learn, and I think learning is a lifelong pursuit. It's not something that's a chore for me. It's something that I enjoy. I can just go on podcasts and I was listening to a podcast about AI by this guy called Demis Hassabis, who's a founder of Google DeepMind. He's going really deep on large language models and AI and explaining how everything works and how he sees the future of that. And I had to literally look up terms every 2 or 3 minutes. I had to go I have to look up what that means, what he's talking about. But I don't mind that. I love that. If I don't understand something, I have that natural instinct. I want to understand it. I don't want to be just I kind of got it. No, I really want to understand it deeply. So that's a passion of mine. And the new business is going to be a vehicle for me to be able to do more investing as well. Because one of the things that I can tell you about DJing, it's very hard to scale DJing as a business. If you want to make twice as much money as a DJ, there's only 2 ways of doing that. Either you play twice as many shows, which is either going to be very uncomfortable, bad for your mental and physical health, and also there has to be demand for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't just tell your agent, "Hey, I want to play twice as many shows," and he's well, there's not, unless you're part of a handful of artists in the world, 25 artists or 30 artists who have many more offers than they can play, right? And that's a very small amount of people. A very small amount of people who have more offers.
And stuff
who can pick 3 or 4 shows every weekend and they pick the highest offer. Most DJs, if they can fill the weekend, they'll be happy with that, right? So unless you're one of those guys, you can't just double your amount of shows. So you can't scale that way. Another way to scale is to double your fee. It's what's the justification for that? Unless you have a massive hit, you grow your social media following 3 or 4-fold. Right, then you may be in a position to ask for twice as much money. But that's also very, very difficult to do. So DJing is a business that's very hard to scale by its very nature. I call DJing a hamster wheel, right? So if you're not in it, if you're not running, it stops turning, right? Just let you have that cough out. No worries.
It's not leaving me.
We'll edit it out.
Another one. I think I got
so DJing is a hamster wheel. You've got to be in it for the wheel to keep going. This business that I'm building together with William is a water wheel. You set it up once and then it keeps on turning, basically, And
it's scalable
It's scalable. You can have as many subscribers as people that want to learn about your offering. If you have a great offering that really gives value to what people want to achieve, then the sky is really the limit. So that's scalable. So I want to do something that's scalable next, because I have definitely come across some limits, and especially physical limits of how many shows I can do and want to do.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And so how did you start this with William from Odin and Fatso? How did you connect on this and get the ball rolling?
So me and William met because we played a show together in Manchester, I think it was. We ended up just he was hey, I've been a fan of your music for ages, and I was I've been a fan of your music for ages, and then we were just let's make sure we have dinner together. And we had dinner together. We just hit it off. He's a super smart guy. He's a great human being. he has a huge range of cultural references in terms of the movies that he's watched, the music that he's into. He knows about 90s hip hop, although he wasn't even alive at that time. And I was like, I love this guy. Like, I just really, like, we were just brothers. Like, straight away, we just clicked. And then, you know, we decided that we had to make music together. I visited the guys in Paris, made a couple of tracks together with them. They're all amazing. Like, we just got on like a house on fire. You know, we bonded over making music and also eating great food together. Like, we love to eat. So, had a great time in Paris. And then they came to Berlin, stayed with me, made more music. And then, like, I had this idea, first to move to Portugal. And the reason why I wanted to move to Portugal is, you know, it's nicer weather, it's a beautiful city, but also income tax free for 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that was like a huge incentive to like being able to sort of tax optimize my business and just really sort of optimize my whole operation. And I told William about it, and initially he was just like straight away like, yeah, I'm going to move too. Like, it makes sense to me, you know? And he's really like a smart guy in that way where like if you explain something to him and it makes sense to him, he's quick to make a decision and he analyzes the facts very quickly, and then he goes like, if he agrees, then he'll just go for it. He's a go-getter, you know? That guy is like a machine. Like he goes for it. And yeah, like we sat together in Lisbon because we were just trying to we were registering as citizens there, because in the EU you can live anywhere you want in the EU. Like in the European Union, you just have to go somewhere and says like, hey, I want to live here now, and then that's that. Like it's like one easy. Yeah, it's one area. Like I can live anywhere I want in the EU. That's the beauty of the EU, and that's the stupidity of leaving the EU, by the way. But like you cutting yourself off. Of like, no, you're not talking about any places in particular, but like, it's a great place to be, and you know, to be able to live in like, you know, 28 different countries, like with no questions asked, is great, you know, and to live there. So, we went there to sign up to live in Portugal, and we just had dinner together, and it just struck me, like literally, like sort of a lightning bolt. I have to do this business. I had thought about doing this business before, but I have to do it with William. And William had talked to me about that he had been teaching music, you know, way before I had gotten to know him. He's very experienced in teaching people already. He's done live teaching. He's done online courses, and it just seemed like a no-brainer. And I was like, William, do you want to do this together? And he was just like, yes. And that was it. So yeah. And here we are. And so is that like a monthly subscription? How's it work? Or a module? So we haven't figured out all of the nuts and bolts of it yet, but it's like probably 90% sure that it's going to be a monthly subscription. There might be some individual classes that we offer as individual classes, but we really want to give people continued value. We don't just want to sell you one class where you go like, okay, like I'm doing buying a track breakdown of my favorite artist or of Ben Rau or of, you know, Fatso. Like there's going to be a community, there's going to be weekly engagement, there's going to be track feedback, you'll have access to us, like we'll talk to you guys, and it's going to be really an offering that is a continuous offering, and that works best with a subscription model because you want to kind of monitor people's development over a longer period of time to be able to give the most value that you can. Build that community sort of feel as well. Exactly, yeah. Like where you say people like, hey, like also like, you know, we run record labels, you know, like if you make great tunes, then there's the ability like, you know, like to send us tunes and send us demos, and we will be listening to them, you know, because this is coming through our community that we are building. So we just want to give people the opportunity to have direct access to us and create as much value as we can for them. And hopefully they like what we offer and want to stay with us for the long run. Have you got a name for it? We have a name. Can you share that, or is that? It's called Dojo. Dojo. Yes. Where'd you get that name from? I mean, dojo is, you know, the Japanese word for a place where you train and work. And like we just looked for something snappy and short and something that can stick in your head. And like we just landed on Dojo straight away, and and that was it. Yeah. Rolls off the tongue.
Speaking, we talked a lot about record labels and records and stuff. You've released on a number of notorious labels. Knee Deep in Sound, 8-track EP on there, Microhertz, Moxy, Eastenderz. What's been your favourite release that you've had?
Definitely the 8-track, because that's as close to an album format as I've ever gotten. It actually is an album, because it was marketed as an album. It took as much time as an album. Like you could argue that an album maybe has like 10 or 12 tracks, but like it is a body of work that I'm proud of because it shows a wide variety of styles that I hadn't done before. There's like breakbeat on there. There's deep house on there. There's French filter house on there. There's tech house on there. There's melodic house on there. And I really wanted to bring all of my production prowess into that album, show people what I'm capable of, what I can do, and also really reference the things that influenced me when I was like an aspiring producer, an aspiring DJ, the records that I listened to. That's probably the body of work that I'm most proud of. But like any producer, I always like the stuff that I did last. And you listen to the stuff that you did like 10 years ago, and you're like, that's pretty basic sounding. But there's people who still love those tunes, I still get requests for Système Solaire, on Inkal, the more minimal stuff. I haven't played that tune in ages, but there's many people who love that tune. And this is what I always say to people, as you as an artist, you don't come as a finished package. You are allowed to grow and evolve in the public eye. You start with something that you might look back on 10 years later and say that was basic compared to what I'm doing now. But for somebody at that time, it was their favorite tune. And that's why it's important to keep shipping. That's what I call it. So make it, but also ship the product, release it, Don't wait until things are perfect because they'll never be perfect.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Go on.
No, just with sort of your own productions, how do you find time to get in the studio amidst all the touring that you're doing?
Look, Mondays to Fridays, there's not much touring. It's mostly weekends. It's usually Friday, Saturday, Sunday. When it's longer tours, like coming to Asia and stuff, it's a couple of weeks, and then I won't be in the studio. And I do work on the laptop when I'm away longer. I love my studio environment though. I love my synthesizers. I love my instruments, and try to do as much work as I can in the studio while I'm in Europe. Pretty much during the whole summer season, it's lots of touring in Europe, or during even touring in North America or South America. It's just always weekends. So even when I go to South America, Peru, Chile, Colombia, whatever, I leave on a Thursday, I arrive on a Friday morning, play Friday, Saturday, I get on a plane on Sunday night, I'm back on Monday, I'm back in the studio. So it's pretty much a 7-day-a-week job, Monday to Friday studio, weekends touring. So if you want to be a full-time DJ, that's what you're signing up for. Yeah.
And how long you putting in the studio sort of per day through the week, or it varies, or you have days where you're feeling it, days
it's pretty regular. It's a pretty regular work day. I try to start by around, I try to start by 10, but realistically it might be sometimes midday. But if I get 4 solid hours of concentrated work in, that's a successful day. And by concentrated work, I mean uninterrupted. No checking the phone, no going on a website, doing other stuff in between, no having your WhatsApp open. It's literally laser focus on making music. And I actually make a list. There's a great book called Deep Work by Cal Newport, which helped me a lot. And he said we live in a distraction-based society. There's a gazillion distractions, and most people aren't even used to doing one thing anymore. How many of you know watching a movie at home while simultaneously being on your phone?
Yeah,
guilty.
Right? We can't even watch a fucking movie anymore without checking our phone every 2 minutes or swiping or doing other stuff in between. You don't even block that out. So, that's a completely new phenomenon that never existed before smartphones. people were able to focus on
So true.
on one thing. And, you know, the makers of all of these apps have made these apps so addictive that you automatically go back to them. Like, sometimes I just hold my phone and all of a sudden I'm swiping through reels and I'm like, well, what's going on here? Like, I haven't even noticed that I started doing it, and I'm half an hour in looking at some shit that I'm not even interested in, right? That doesn't do anything for me. But, like, I'm distracted. And this book by Cal Newport, like, talks about deep work, and he talks about working without distractions. And it's all about knowing what you're going to do that day and planning that down to the minute. So you make a list of all of the things that you have to do. Like, say, like, first I'm going to work on bass lines, then I'm going to lay down some chords, then I'm going to look for some vocal samples. And, like, and you literally, like, from 1 p.m. to, like, you know, 2:15, I'm going to do that. And I break my day up into 1 hour and 15-minute blocks with 15-minute breaks in between. And I do 4 1 hour and 15-minute blocks. 3 hours and 45 minutes production work, and the last 1 hour and 15 minutes is just dealing with other shit of the day, admin and what stuff. Yeah. Oh. And, like, you'd be surprised how much stuff you get done if you don't look at your phone, if you don't do other shit in between. It's like you can get, like, a distracted 8-hour workday will be less productive than a 4-hour undistracted workday.
In terms of writing, are you trying to write music every day, or do you have days where you come in and just, like, playing around in your synths, recording stuff in, or you always?
I always try to make music. Always try to work on something. Always try to finish a track. Sometimes a track won't go anywhere and it gets scrapped. That rarely happens these days. Like, there's just a couple of tricks that you can do to get the creative juices flowing. If you have some kind of harmonic content, like a chord or a melody, or even like a vocal that you can vibe off, that helps a lot. The hardest thing is starting off with beats and a bass line. Like, if you start with some beats and then you just got to write a bass line on top of that, you're just like, I don't know if this is any good. But as soon as you got, like, a chord or something melodic or a vocal, like, it just starts flowing. You know?
Would you say sometimes you'll start, or most times you'll start with your chords or a vocal?
Nowadays I do. I used to start with beats, and it was a lot harder than that. But, like, I also recycle a lot of stuff. So, like, I never start from scratch. So, like, I will always just pull in, like, a whole drum bus from a previous project, basically.
Just to get you going.
Yeah, just to get you going, just to have some beats going. And, like, I end up replacing probably 90% of the drums. Different kicks, different kind of swing to the hi-hats, different patterns, because I keep everything in MIDI and one-shot samples. Everything is very easily exchanged. So I just have to exchange the samples, change the MIDI up a little bit, and it's a completely new pattern.
It's a good way of working.
But to have like a drum bus that you can ready pull in, and then I can just lay some chords over that, and then I can start vibing on that. Then that's probably the easiest part.
I think we might have to adopt that approach. We'll just keep it quick because we know your time is valuable. What's next for Ben Rau?
So what's next? I mean, obviously a bunch of shows. Ibiza's coming up. I'm going to play for Abode. I'm going to play for Space. I'm going to play for PIV. I think there's more stuff going to be confirmed for this summer as well that I can't talk about yet. There's an EP coming up on PIV's new sub-label that is more for, like, big room sound, which I'm really excited about because they are branching out into, like, a really sort of more sort of bigger club sound. There's an EP on my own label, META, which is coming next month. The A-side of that has been rinsed by Stassi, Max Dean, and a bunch of other people.
All the big dogs.
Some of the big dogs have really been supporting already, and I'm just really believing that this one's going to be doing well. But the weird thing is, you never know. Like, quite often it's like, you sure, like, this one's going to do really well, and it doesn't. And then the one that you think is, like, you know, the B-side or whatever takes off. So you never know. But you know, hoping that it'll do well. I'm pretty sure it will do. And yeah, just continue to release music, touring, and, you know, building the platform with William. We're going to start on our socials next month. We're still recording a shitload of content for teaching people right now, and hope we haven't set a firm date when that's going to launch, because we want to have a really solid offering for people before we commit to a date. But that's what's next.
Looking forward to seeing it.
Pans out, yeah.
Well, thanks, guys. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. Pleasure to have you on.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me. And we can do it anytime again.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you.
Get you back in.
Thank you.
See you next one.